Greetings fellow role players and welcome to RPGenesis, where characters are more than numbers. At this point in the series you've seen a glimpse of my team and Aka's team. We've had to look at the barbarian, who was the first member of my team. We've had to look at the bard, who was the first member of Aka's team. Now we're going to be looking at a class which is kind of a mixture of the two. The Cleric. Clerics are seen as holy warriors who heal the injured and carry out the duties of their chosen deity. Clerics are an interesting class to choose because they are fairly versatile in their capabilities. Similar to bards, a cleric's magic may focus on buffing allies and debuffing enemies. However, they also have access to a wider array of these spells, as well as more healing magic abilities and better access to radiant damage spells. They can use these abilities while attacking as a tank for the party, covering themselves in thick armor to absorb damage, or stay back and assist from range with some of their more aggressive spells. In my opinion, the Cleric is a good class to start off with if you want to try out the magic mechanics for the first time. It's much simpler compared to other classes, as you'll see in the video, especially if you've just come from the Bard episode to see how much less of a headache it will give you. As with the Bards, we'll be using an extra book alongside the Player's Handbook to make this character, and today, this book is going to be Acquisitions Incorporated, made in collaboration with Wizards of the Coast and Penny Arcade Incorporated. First, let's get our base stats sorted. For Auric, we use the predetermined numbers. For Embers, we use the point-buy system. For the Cleric, and the rest of the characters from now on, we're going to be using my favourite method, rolling. When using this method, you determine your stats randomly by rolling 4 6-sided dice, removing the lowest, then adding up the remaining ones, and that is your stat. Using this method, I rolled 12, 8, 13, 10, 17, 13. And here is where I will assign them. Now, I want to see what racial increases I'm going to get before I decide how to build my Cleric. Looking at Acquisitions Incorporated, there aren't a lot of options to choose from in any spec of character creation. Most of it is teaching you how to roleplay a class in a business environment, but it does contain some options for your background and a singular race. So I'm going to use what little this book has in terms of character creation to build my Cleric further. Starting with the race, Cleric will be a Verdan, a goblin-like race who were cursed by a mysterious entity named That Which Endures. As they grow, they mutate in various ways. They could change skin colour, body shape, facial features, hair colour, hair length, even their name and sex isn't off the table. Perfect for indecisive players. Naming a Verdan is as simple, or complicated, as you'd like to make it. Some will give themselves names that are commonplace in the community that they currently reside in, while others might name themselves based on a physical trait they have. Now you know that I like making characters that break the mold a little. According to the book, male Verdan typically have little to no hair. Keyword, typically. So I'm going to make my Verdan a special case and give him long flowing brown hair and name him Locks. Why? Because it was how I had my hair in college. Except not nearly as amazing. As a Verdan, my constitution increases by 1 and my charisma by 2. On my team, I've already got Auric as a tank, so I think I will make this Cleric focus on a support role for the team. Verdan also have some unique qualities and racial traits. They move at 30-foot speed just like a lot of the races and learn the common and goblin languages along with one additional one of my choice. I'm going to choose Celestial. However, at level 4 or lower, you are classed as a small creature. Should they ever reach level 5, they get a growth spurt and become a medium creature. That might cause some issues when the armor you're wearing doesn't fit anymore. They also gain 4 racial features. Black Blood Healing, which allows us to reroll a 1 or a 2 when we use a hit dice to heal during a rest. Persuasive, granting us proficiency in the persuasion skill. Limited Telepathy, allowing me to share simple ideas and concepts with any creature within 30 feet as long as they understand one language. And finally, Telepathic Insight, giving advantage on all wisdom and charisma saving throws. Now let's look at the background. Reading the title of this one gave me an idea for the backstory. Celebrity Adventures Scion would normally see you as a child of a well-known hero or villain who is to prove themselves just as capable. I am going to slightly change this and say that my Cleric is a student of a hero rather than related to one. a purely narrative change that doesn't affect the bonuses I get in any way. With this background, I become proficient in perception and performance, gain proficiency with a disguise kit, can learn 2 other languages, I'll choose Draconic and Infernal, and the equipment consists of a disguise kit, a set of fine clothes, and 30 gold pieces to start. The feature this background grants is name dropping. While a tacky thing to do in real life, in the game, it may allow me to make famous or important NPCs in the campaign offer minor help as long as the DM allows it, while common folk might offer free meals or lodging in exchange for tales or because of my heritage. Now I'm going to discern a personality from this background, but I feel this might be a good time to think of a goal for my character's developmental arc. As luck would have it, one of the options in the personality trait table matches this concept perfectly. I will of course change it from Parent's Shadow to Master, but again, a narrative change. The rest I'm going to roll for. The idea means that I value wisdom. My bond means that I consider my actual father's team to be family, and my flaw implies I look up to my team but feel I must prove myself to them constantly. Now that I've taken what I want for the Acquisitions Incorporated book, let's have a quick look at what we have so far. Currently, our cleric has 12 strength, 8 dexterity, 14 con, 10 intelligence, 17 wisdom, and 15 charisma. They are slightly telepathic and have a natural healing ability that allows them to potentially heal better when using hit dice during a short rest, is proficient in 3 skills and 2 saving throws, is currently classed as small, standing at 3 foot 9 inches, and starting with 30 gold. Already showing some promising signs for a support role, yet the cleric's class features will be the bulk of the role, so let's get into the actual class of the show. Level 1, we determine our base health, proficiencies and equipment. Lux will be starting at 10 HP and is proficient in light and medium armour with shields. Proficient in only simple weapons, and wisdom and charisma are his proficient saving throws. From the listed choice of skills, I will choose medicine and religion. His starting equipment will consist of a mace, chainmail, a hand axe, a priest pack, a shield, and a holy symbol used to cast their spells. We have looked at spellcasting already when covering the bard, but different classes will have different mechanics when it comes to how exactly they cast their spells. At level 1 we have access to 3 cantrips and 3 prepared first level spells, determined by the equation of cleric level plus wisdom modifier. When it comes to preparing spells, clerics work differently. Like the bard, the number of slots clerics have to cast a spell starts low and increases as they level up. Unlike a bard, who has to choose their spells and be stuck with them until they level up, a cleric has memorised all spells available to their class, allowing us more freedom of choice and adaptability. However, we can't just choose which spells to cast whenever we want. Instead, we have to choose which spells to prepare for the day. To simplify this, one thing you could do is have a list of your preferred spells for your build and then just tick which ones you have prepared for the day. For the cantrips, I'm going to choose Light, Sacred Flame, and Spare the Dying. For my level 1 spells, I'm going to be going with Guiding Bolt, Detect Magic, and Shield of Faith from the Player's Handbook, and Motivational Speech from Acquisitions Incorporated. Using the equations in the book, the DC save is 12, and the attack bonus is +4. Not bad, but not great either. However, Lux is meant to be a support healing character, and thankfully, healing spells don't require a roll to succeed. Some of you might be asking, why didn't you choose any healing spells? Well, that I will answer in our next section. Clerics get to choose their skill tree at level 1, or Divine Domain, as it's called in this case. Each domain will have certain domain spells that are automatically gained when your cleric reaches a certain level. These spells are always available to you and do not count towards the number of spells you've got prepared for the day. Choosing the life domain, Locke gains Bless and Cure Wounds automatically. And as a life cleric, Locke will also gain a new proficiency, so now he can use heavy armor without penalty. Along with Disciple of Life, which means that any healing spell they cast will automatically get a minimum of 2 plus the spell's level additional healing points on top. With that, our level 1 cleric is finished. Now on to level 2. Taking the average health boost gives Locke 17 health and he gains an extra spell slot. Locke now also gains the Channel Divinity ability.
Channel Divinity is an odd thing to try and describe. While I describe it as an ability, it's more accurate to describe it as its own category, and there are skills within it that you can use,
and you can use one, but not both, of the abilities associated with it once before you have to recharge it with a short or long rest.
The first of these two skills is Turn Undead, an ability that can make the undead fear you. When used, it makes any undead within 30 feet move away from you if they fail a wisdom saving throw. This doesn't sound like much, but it can come in real handy if you're having a hard time dealing with the horde of the hungry undead, or want a quick way to allow the rest of the party opportunity attacks as you force the undead to run past them. The second divinity ability is dependent on your chosen domain. In the case of the life domain, the skill is Preserve Life. This allows you to have a pool of healing points equal to 5 times your cleric level and can divide them among any number of creatures within 30 feet of you. While one of these skills is only helpful in specific situations, the second skill you get will complement your role a lot better.
The last thing we now have to do for level 2 is prepare a new spell. As Locke's level has gone up, so has his number of prepared spells. So I'm going to choose Healing Word for an additional healing option from my arsenal.
Level 2 completed, now on to level 3, where we're getting nothing? According to the cleric table, they get very little at level 3. Of course, they're still going to get the health increase, which I'm going to take a chance and roll for this time.
Go!
While our health may not have gone up much this time, our spells have gone up a noticeable amount. We now have 2 level 2 slots that we can use, and our first level slots have gone up to 4. And from the life domain, we now have 2 new level 2 prepared spells, Spiritual Weapon and Lesser Restoration.
And of course, the prepared spells have also increased along with his level. I don't think I want to change any of the spells I've currently picked yet, but since I have access to the level 2 spell slots now, I'm going to add Silence as a countermeasure to enemies who are trying to cast spells with vocal requirements.
Level 3 complete, short and sweet. Let's move on to level 4. Roll for health again. Better. The number of cantrips we have prepared now has increased, and we've gained a third second level spell slot. But now, onto that important question. Stat increase or feat? This time, it's an easy answer for me, as I will increase Locke's wisdom by 2.
Increasing his wisdom to 19, which increases his modifier to +4. In turn, this means that his wisdom saving throw has automatically gotten better, any skill related to wisdom has also increased, and the number of prepared spells he now has increased by 2 instead of 1 because of the level up and the increase in his wisdom modifier. And now to finish off Locke's, I'm going to choose the final 3 spells to add to my list, 1 cantrip and 2 level 2s. The cantrip is going to be Guidance. This is useful out of combat because it can aid allies or myself in skill rolls by letting me add a d4 on top. For the 2 level 2 spells, I'm going to choose Prayer of Healing, which lets me do mass healing on up to 6 people so long as I spend 10 minutes praying, and Zone of Truth, which if a creature is inside and fails a check, will have to tell the truth and nothing else.
Now, with that, Lux, the Verdun Life Cleric, is complete.
I know we just flew through those last 2 levels of Cleric, but the Cleric is a very simple class. So if you're wanting to be a little bit of everything, but more of a focus on a particular aspect like tanking damage, dealing damage, healing damage, then the Cleric is a good place to start if you're not quite confident with how complicated the Bard can be. So now, we've come to the end of the video, and you know what that means? We're going to draw Lux to life and have his backstory narrated to us. While that's happening, feel free to leave your designs of Cleric and your Cleric stories down below. We love to hear from you every time. Thanks for watching everybody, and remember to keep on rolling. Hello everyone, it's Editing Zach here. Just a quick note before we get into the finale of the video. Chemokin, the artist who has done my previous character, did draw this character as well. Unfortunately, they have lost the final piece. So what you're going to be seeing at the end is my finished piece, but I'm not one to let hard work go unnoticed. So the video you're going to be watching of the colouring in is still Chemokin's, but the final drawing is mine. You'll still find the links to Chemokin as well as Tom, aka Sleepless Reading's efforts, down below.
and go show them some love because they do good stuff. Now with that said, I hope you enjoy.
The Golden City is the most religious of all the kingdoms in Alaria. Tolerance of other beliefs is taught, but rarely practiced by its citizens. Within this city is the young cleric Lox. As a Verdon, Lox gets his name from his long, flowing caramel hair. As a child, Lox's family arrived in the Golden City as refugees, and were helped by some of the more charitable citizens of the city. Lox wanted to repay the kindness he was shown, and decided to study as a cleric of the life domain. While difficult, Lox did his best to learn the ways of divinity, and he did show promise in his efforts. Lox was often seen in a negative light by most of his fellow students. He was often mocked for his unnatural black blood healing ability, his mediocre capabilities, being a teacher's pet, and his race's freakish history. This bullying would persist throughout his time studying in the temple, and Lox grew to feel isolated and depressed during his time there. Finding friendship and happiness with his master, letters from his parents, and his studies, Lox saw his master as his role model and wanted to do him proud. Lox continued to struggle through his studies, the bullying, and loneliness, often contemplating leaving the temple. In the final year of his studies, Lox would suffer trauma as his parents would break up in his absence. His mother left the city, while his father started working as part of a mining team, ready to head to Rawwell for work. His studies suffered from the stress, and he began to perform badly in his lessons. His master would come to his aid and help him finish the year, but his parents' splitting would be the event that broke him. He lost all confidence, was convinced he would never be as good as his master, and he did not belong anywhere but with his family. Lox left the temple under the dark of night and returned to his father, who was preparing to head to Rawwell. To avoid disappointing his father, he lied to him. Lox told his father that he had finished his studies and was an official cleric of Pelor. His father expressed how proud he was of him, and invited him to join him and his team in their travels. Lox agreed. The time Lox spent with his father and his team he enjoyed, considering them family. After the work in Rawwell was finished, Lox, his father, and his team traveled the kingdom of Ilum to live by the capital city of Rawcliffe. Here, Lox would meet and join the adventurers known as the Tempest Talons. At first, to make ends meet, but soon would become a valued and respected member of the party, and would finally be able to repay the kindness the world once showed him and his family.